So the company has been, operating for 20 years plus, and it's really been a pioneer in the secondhand peer-to-peer selling. But as time evolved and when success grows, obviously you're going to get competition. So particularly in tech, in fashion as well. In the Netherlands, I think Katawiki just raised a significant round recently. So how do you kind of stay abreast of that? How do you keep your pole position?
Yeah. So I was mentioning to you, audience centricity is quite important for us, obviously. So we're working really, really hard to fully know our users and activate, more sophisticated operating model to start really leveraging individual user profiles in real time. Mm-hmm. And we do this in different ways. I think one is by having a pretty clear and really actionable user segmentation, which is based on behavioral insights. So not too much like aspirational personas which attributes cannot be, fine in a UI when you want to target real people, for instance.
Yeah.
Second is very much around, having almost real-time, identification of the key drivers of change from one segment to another. Somebody who comes for the first time, how do you make this person become, more sticky, and ensuring that if we've got signals that this person eventually is going to churn in 15 days, 3 weeks or whatsoever. So what is it that you put in place to avoid this to happen? And for us, it's very much around activating users against, therefore, sets of desired action on our platform. We do this, via multiple touch points, combination actually of own media through, emails, silent badges, notifications, etc., but also on-site messaging, for example, like tooltips.
Yeah.
And paid media, and I'm sure that we will be talking a little bit about this in the future.
Yep.
I think from an innovation point of view, you were quoting competition. We stay quite abreast of what's happening in our frame of reference, direct actually. And from an innovation point of view, I think our user behavior is changing, drastically, from 10 years ago, web to app, and more recently during COVID, when people are showing tremendous growth and activity on our platform. I'm sure we're not the only one. And innovation should be really, able to facilitate, really harness all these new opportunities for us. So, customer expectations are changing very rapidly based on their experiences with other e-commerce platforms or social platforms, particularly. Thinking about, fast delivery, abundance of choice or free return, all these different things. So we therefore have to innovate continuously to match these expectations and ultimately the underlying needs of our consumers.
Yeah, makes sense. And what I find interesting though is if I go to Marktplaats, the user interface hasn't really changed significantly. At least that's how it comes across. I don't go there very often. I have to, in full disclosure. But the user interface seems to stay relatively, stable, the same. Whereas if we are in a world where UX UI is a very big, role inside the whole customer journey. So what is the rationale behind that?
So I would challenge you on that, Louise.
Okay.
The first thing I think, although, some may think, including yourself actually, that the user experience stayed pretty much the same for the last few years. In reality, I think it's changed drastically. So I've been on Marktplaats for 10 years actually, and what I see is that we've added, even before I joined actually, a wide variety of new features on the platform that not only drastically shorten the journey to connect really buyers to sellers, but also change massively the role the role that Marktplaats plays in the entire customer journey. So think about adding the chat function, for example, or with buyer to seller payments opportunities, integrated shipping, for example. Think about enabling customers to place an ad on Marktplaats in less than 10 seconds today using image recognition or barcode scanners, to name a few. So, we drove actually massive changes on the platform by really adding, a new breed of talents, data scientists, data engineers to our teams, which, are using only algorithmic models, basically machine learning, to transform, from the Marktplaats that potentially you knew before, and was a kind of one-size-fits-all user experience to a platform that is actually today highly personalized and relevant to each individual customer. And indeed, to your point, sometimes I get the message from people in saying, this color, it looks old school or old fashioned. And indeed, we don't change the interface or the color all the time. I was mentioning in the introduction that, Marktplaats is a kind of household brand, belongs to the people almost. Our customers have a strong connection to the brand. They consider it almost like their platform. And we're very much aware of that, the role that we play in our lives. We involve our users constantly in kind of every big improvement that we're making on the platform. And we change the interface only if it helps them to become more successful, be it a seller or a buyer.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, everything was desktop. And look at where we are now as a platform. We're on 80% of Dutch mobile phones as an app. 85% are logged in on the app. People are receiving notifications, personal feeds, etc. And it's a kind of unprecedented change in reality where, the team can be so proud of being the largest app site in NL, after only having, Google or Facebook properties.
Yes, that's impressive.
Quite a lot has happened.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think you articulate really, succinct. Is that, you look at kind of the interface, whereas what you're saying, there's a lot of features, a lot of like elements that were added over time, but it might be masked behind the interface if you just look at it from a first glance. Whereas there is a whole journey that is so much more sophisticated and personalized. So that's interesting. So talk a little bit about your role in your team. So you're heading up marketing, but it can be, a pretty broad role, or it can be a little bit more narrow. So please share a little bit about your scope.
I lead a team of, great talents. They're all based in Amsterdam. When I joined actually in May, I decided to centralize everything in Amsterdam.
Okay.
To be split between two countries. And the team is really tasked to drive our efforts for both NL and Belgium across our brand portfolio. So Marktplaats, Tweedehands, and Deuxième Main, which operates in the south of Belgium. Responsibilities are split between various departments. I'll tell you a little bit about it, but a clear commitment to deliver marketing plans that are fit to local context. So, culture, language, behavioral differences, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach from Amsterdam, rolled out in Belgium, for example, vice versa. So various teams, an integrated marketing team, which is a team of, very solid people who are responsible for defining marketing strategies for NL and Belgium and leading the development execution of integrated marketing plans that really drive business growth. And they're split between auto or a flywheel categories or a small medium businesses, for example.
Yeah.
Then there is a brand and content marketing team, really responsible for brand standards first. So brand positioning, think about brand positioning and identity. So, differentiation, distinctiveness, and they almost act as a brand custodian within the organization, and also responsible for our content strategy for all our always on or more ad hoc based campaigns in both markets. Then there's a third department, which is what I call precision marketing. So it's really a team which is responsible for leveraging real-time customer profiles and intent signals via matching paid, owned strategies and activations. All of them optimized towards ROI goals, even incremental ROI goals when we have A/B experimental designs in place. We can talk a little bit about this later on. And it's split between basically a performance marketing bucket, a CRM bucket. And then analytics is the fourth one, which is really enabling actually our precisions team to make, fast-paced data-driven decisions, providing actionable insights, but also contributing to optimizing our campaigns. And then the last one is PR.
Yeah. Okay. So how big is your entire team?
It's around 20 people.
Okay. Nice.
And I'm recruiting as well, new people. So I'm constantly, the team is also publishing few roles right now. There are some interesting roles in the team. So,
okay. Good to know.
Feel free to apply.
Yeah. Great.
Leuk dat je op ons YouTube kanaal bent. Wil je meer zien en horen vooral van alle top marketing CMO's in Nederland? Abonneer je dan eventjes hieronder, dan mis je nooit een aflevering.